Is it gets all season long?
It's been dry weather, right?
Things are cold.
Yeah.
It's the construction, but it's dry.
I can see that. It's a big
Yeah, oh, yeah, this side's even worse.
You see Jimmy Wheeler down there?
Lots of rules and Woodward and broke a lot in this one's belt.
Yeah, all right, well, let's go ahead and get started. And review the January minutes.
Could you pass me a pen or pencil?
So moved.
Go for a second.
Uh,
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion or?
Well done.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right. I think this should be pretty quick. I hope everyone has gotten out and enjoyed Prospect. It's skiing amazing.
Doesn't matter where you go, it's amazing.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I poked around at the orchard a little bit, just curious if that's gonna throw any wrenches into anything for planning on orchard stuff or just later in the
think so.
season.
Gotta look out for the moose.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the tracks. I didn't see the moose. But does anyone else have anything on Prospect? No.
No.
Right. I don't have anything specific on Jackson Falls, and I haven't gotten any resolution on what the Connors had discussed with.
Yeah, I attended the selectmen, in your behalf, and basically the Connors were there. Yes, selectmen agreed to replace the trees, and Burr was going to follow up on that, and I also mentioned that, you know, there will be a need to replace the trees over on the south side of Valley Cross. So hopefully we should hear from Burr, even though those trees, I'm not quite sure whether they were on the town of Jackson's land or whether they're on the Jackson ski terrain, but either way, we've given permission for the town to use it. I mean, Jackson has given the permission for Jackson to use it, so hopefully Burr will follow up and get some orders on the trees, and we'll have to decide where to put them.
I have not, well, with all of the plowing, usually this time of year, people have asked if we would be willing to plow the access out there, and I haven't seen if they've done that in their cleanup yet, or
Which access?
the parking at Jackson Falls.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't plowed this morning.
Okay.
And it hasn't been plowed in
It-
years past.
We asked them last year to do it.
Yeah.
Um,
That also did come up because in the budget with the highway department, let's see if I can remember this correctly. The question was raised, who pays to maintain the parking lot? And the highway department periodically brings the gravel in, and so there was a question in the future about who's gonna continue to maintain it. I basically said that we were in the Conservation Commission was in the process of developing a management plan for Jackson Falls, and we were waiting to do something comprehensive because we need the study that you set up to go ahead, and then we'll develop one comprehensive plan. And I think at that point, we may want to talk about whether we want that paved and whether we want it marked off or what we think is the best way to manage that in the future, and then who's gonna pay for it.
So are they talking about between the town and the Conservation Commission, or the Department
Yeah,
of
the question
Transportation?
came up as to who is paying to maintain the parking lot, because periodically the highway department has to come and bring gravel in to just fill it in. So currently, the highway department has been paying to do that. And so the question came up, and I think Frank had sort of appointed himself to do some follow-up on that, to make some determinations for the future. Because each department was in there defending their budget, or explaining their budget, I should say. I can't remember, Dick, were you at that?
Okay. Well,
Also on maintenance plowing with the fence, it's difficult. It's not an easy
Ideal.
task.
yeah,
So, I did see the cars parked there because they swept kind of a wide spot.
right.
And the cars were pretty much out of the way. They weren't in the
Was
roadway.
that corner of Carter?
No, it was right
Carter
along,
House?
the Carter Knox Road where the split rail fence is. And that, I guess the truck just sort of swung in enough that the cars felt comfortable
To pull out.
to park there.
They parallel parking as
What-
opposed to diagonal?
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess it's a question whether we want to ask the town to do a sweep, which would be, as I think Dick pointed out, you don't want them to go up against the fence, but they could sweep and just move to parallel parking in the winter.
Or if we went for a snow blower, we could, get through there and clean it all up and, but
Yeah.
I don't think they want to.
If you're volunteering, I'll let you do
The
it.
sidewalk machine up there, it'd be one thing if they could get up the hill with it, but I don't think they can negotiate that.
Do they do the sidewalk? I can't even remember.
No.
They don't do the
I was
sidewalk.
just up there today.
Yeah.
It's pretty
It's
narrow, yeah, it's
It's
actually,
dangerous,
the
Yeah.
yellow line, you have like 3/4 of a lane.
I think you're right.
and
Yeah.
north, so you don't have a, it's tight,
It'd be hard to maintain that too.
yeah. It's really hard.
Because that's where they have to push the snow for
Right.
the roadway,
Mm.
so.
On the sidewalk machine, so they just can't handle the grade, or just that there's nowhere for it
Too
to
narrow.
push?
I don't think there's any place left to push
Okay.
snow.
Unless you push it over.
They'd
the
have to
road,
have a
yeah.
loader and a truck and then push it into the road and bucket it out. And I don't think that's,
What I think I would suggest here is, when we develop the Jackson Falls management plan like we did with Prospect, is we put that as an item in there to determine what we want to recommend, as opposed to trying to shoehorn something in this winter.
Do people use it a lot in the winter?
Well, you can't park, so yeah, it's really.
It gets use, and I think when, as just a courtesy, they would do it, but I didn't want to put it on. I wanted it to be the lowest priority in their cleanup.
Yeah.
If they had time and they were making a pass, and they could just make a pass to make it a little bit safer, not a full plow out, and so that's why I asked Gary to do. I haven't talked to Jim about it yet, so. But they had their hands full the last week, so.
I expect a lot of people would use it if it were open, but.
And they did go by
Dangerous.
and wing a lot of the roads here in the last week or so.
Yeah.
That's when they could do it, as opposed to just after each storm.
Yeah, I think that's just, in my conversation with Gary was, it's the lowest priority if you have a chance.
Yeah.
When you're doing the winging back, then do it. All right, well, I can contact Jim about that later on, just. Okay. I don't have anything for grades. Anyone have anything?
And actually, before we go on, the other thing, and I couldn't remember, is the parking in the right of way, because that's a state highway. can't remember whether the parking is actually on town land or whether it's on state highway right of way.
It's probably both.
Well, the right of way goes back to where, I think, where the parking.
Well, right of ways
is.
are funky because in some places the town or the state may own the underlying land, and in some places the landowner owns it, and it goes deed by deed.
I feel
But
like
the right of way still goes over
Yeah.
whoever owns the fee.
So I don't know whatever we do there,
we,
what may or may not
we
require.
were, I think we were controlled by the state in the past, which has always been a holdup.
That's the right of
I
way.
think they had something to say about the parking, as I remember.
It's like
Yeah.
non-conforming, and when we went to discuss it, it almost, not sure if this is the case, but I feel like we could actually lose spaces in the, if we tried to make it more conforming. Right, if we decided to do, let's do these 3 things, and then they're like, well, if you're gonna do that, you have to do this. And in the process of that, I think we decided, hey, maybe we're best to just kind of let this lay.
Leave it alone.
Well, maybe we're at a different point now, because we're actually gonna try to, tie all these 2 cents together. But at the time, pretty sure the state, and it might have been Kenny, who was our road agent at the time, he might have kind of advised us to.
Yeah, I told the selectmen, I said, I know that there's a DOT issue there, but I
Yeah,
was not aware of what the issue
I
was.
can't.
It was pretty me.
yeah, I don't remember it exactly.
Is there, who would be the DOT rep for, how would that be broke?
I don't know who's the local,
I'll ask Jim. All right.
yeah, I don't know who this could be.
It'd be good to know those so that when we develop the plan, make recommendations, we're not making a recommendation that's contradictory to what DOT.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Anything else for Jackson Falls? Gray's Inn?
No.
Just an observation. I mean, I take my dog and walk him and snowshoe there once in a while. It's pretty heavy use through there.
Yeah,
Not only there, but they go off onto Wigglesworth and the other snowshoe trails out there.
It is on the Jackson Ski Touring snowshoe trail, map.
It is, and then it gets on the Nestle Nook. It's a little hodgepodge of ownerships, I guess.
It's very funny. I just almost never think of the village trails. And parking by yesterday's, and I saw people coming down. I was like, I had no idea there was a trail right there.
oh, yeah.
The one that goes up to Christmas Farm, yeah, and so on, yeah.
Rothstein.
Yeah, it was just, I'd never seen anyone on it, so just that, the depth between yesterday's and the house.
That needs a lot of snow before they can do
Yeah.
anything with it. It's, because it goes in over a wetland area. and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fun little zone, old school.
The Grosstein is a fun little.
Grosstein's cool. Yeah.
Gotta explore more.
Yeah, the piece that connects from Christmas Farm is neat too. I like that trail. But you're right, it's wet and bony.
Yeah, all right.
Has anyone else read this?
Well, I will get to it.
Okay.
What do
It's
you-
on the agenda.
I think the, this is an aside, but you brought it up, the leash law is, is it your dog is under control or your dog's on a leash?
I always understood it was voice control.
I
That was
think-
my understanding, but I don't know
Yeah.
for certain.
I think you said both. I think if your dog is under control, it doesn't need to be on a leash. But if it's,
Like at Prospect, you don't want them on a leash
right,
a lot of times.
there's so many dogs.
Well, no, you got a skier coming with a,
A tether and
Tether.
clothesline.
Yeah.
Tripwire.
And a lot of times if the skier is a highly accomplished skier, he's just got a
Yeah.
mask on. I mean, there's some skis running that happens out there,
Yeah.
but, and usually dogs will do better if they can get each other off the leash.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Who's gonna get
Well, I
No,
I like that there's a place where people can take dogs. And just sometimes those high energy dogs, like, just from the parking lot, just took off. And the couple whose dog it was were just like chasing it all the way up. And I caught up to the dog and it camped out, and it was just there, like, having fun, talking, like, greeting people. And it was just like,
And people were pretty adamant that with ski touring, that was gonna be the dog place
Well, I guess
when the town came.
I guess that's maybe the point, is
And that's written into the agreement between Jackson Ski Touring and the town, that was gonna be dog available. And that was from the
Yeah.
town.
Well, I think when it wasn't as popular, and you weren't getting your high-end skiers up there so much. Now it's like the training grounds for a lot of people that go ski hard. And I think a while ago that wasn't so much the case. But I think just being a dead end where everybody has to start at one point and go in one direction is why it's a tough place to have dogs, because you can't everyone's funneling and then everyone's going down that, you know.
The other
beginning.
place that it's allowed is actually behind the library.
Yeah, and no, but I mean,
And actually, like Boggy is one of the safest because the line of sight
mm-hmm,
is good,
yeah,
which is what you want if you're gonna see a dog coming. You know, you get into something like the wave or something, that's not a good situation because the dog and you
Yeah.
don't see each other
Oh,
until
yeah.
you're almost on top of each other.
I mean, I accept that there's gonna be dogs up there. I mean, I've been nipped probably, I don't know, countless times, you know. Same people, same dogs, it's always the same.
You got a lot of Jackson residents up there, myself included,
Yeah, so,
ski ring dogs up here.
I don't think the same dog should be allowed to keep nipping,
no, it's hard to, when you're skiing, to.
take their license plate.
Yeah. So, it happens. I mean, it happens when you're on a bike riding up there and you get nipped by a dog. Dogs nip.
That's still not good. You need to know
No.
they've got their shots and all that.
have there been active patrollers up there checking passes or anything?
The answer is yes. The frequency is highly variable.
Okay.
I mean, they do that throughout the system, but
It may just be.
is there a bunch of bootlegging? Yes. You know, some people go up there and they have a pass, but you can't see it.
That's usually me.
I forgot mine the other day, I was like,
Yeah.
oh.
My
Just
dog
stay-
ate it.
What's that?
My dog ate it.
Yeah.
Well, I just, in years past, I would see patrollers or people with ski touring vests on, and I just haven't seen anyone this year, and
I've seen them out
Spread
of
out.
this.
but.
It's
That might
100
just be-
kilometers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, the patrollers, they're gonna be more of them out there during the weekend than there's gonna be during the weekday, and a lot of people are, if you go up there, I mean, there's a lot of people that get out of work, you go up there at 4:35, it's almost pitch black, and there'll be people just out of work that are
Mhm. All right.
light on, taking off to ski, yeah.
Well, I think for a couple of years, at least it appeared that way, that they would have somebody more or less in the parking lot, either kind of like appear to be managing parking or just kind of overseeing that it wasn't too chaotic. So maybe that kind of gave you the feel that they were checking, you know, because obviously they're greeting people. I don't think I saw that happen so much last year, but for a couple of years. I haven't seen a whole lot of, I mean, I know most of the people that patrol.
Yeah.
And some of the patrollers are like, they go to college, so they'll be here for Christmas, and then they'll go back like the second or third week in January.
Mhm.
Anybody that's been in this business trying to hire people,
Mm. Yeah,
good luck finding them.
yeah.
So, yeah, that's a challenge that any of these businesses have right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we can just segue directly into the thing that we need to discuss.
Pass this along.
Yeah. If there's nothing on community garden, or I don't have anything for Wildcat River or easements. We received from NHDES a violation notice for the snowmaking pond Whitney's in Black Mountain Snowmaking Pond, and they inspected the property in December and sent out a letter at that time asking them to cease any activities with the pond and to obtain any permits.
So that's a different,
Yeah, so this was the initial letter. That other letter just came in today.
oh, okay.
I'm not surprised.
Who's it from?
DES.
Okay. Because they've got spotlights out there tonight on the pond.
Really?
Huh?
Well, I guess they've had lights on every.
Well, I didn't know if they were using it, you know, if it was because they were working on the pump or, I don't know.
Yeah, they frequently have the lights on
Oh,
down
okay.
there. And I don't know if that's just when they're actively making snow or not.
Well, there wasn't anybody ice skating.
Yeah. Anyway, so just kind of outlining what our initial concerns and observations, and the state has requested some more follow-up, and that they need to hire a wetland scientist.
I don't see where it says,
Make a plan for restoration.
This was just the initial contact letter.
but the cease and desist part, where did you see that? Cease and desist work?
Requested to voluntarily refrain from carrying out additional work.
Okay, but not,
Not
Pumping
stop
of water.
using it.
okay, yeah. I thought you meant cease and desist of actually pumping water out of the,
No, because I think that's covered under slightly
Yeah,
different
well,
thing,
they get-
which was covered
right.
in that letter.
they're probably gonna get hit with that, because I imagine they're, I don't know what they're using for water, but we don't use a lot more than they used to.
Well, that's, oh my God, that's the thing, like going,
This doesn't surprise me at all.
No.
I knew that what we were doing, having chaired the state's rivers committee
Yeah.
for
Well,
over years.
but where does the fire pond thing fall under that? I mean,
Well, number one is that they've got a water withdrawal that's greater than the amount. He doesn't have a permit to do it.
right,
Right there's a bingo.
right, change use of owners,
They
that's
say-
supposed to, you have to apply again.
Well, as a riparian owner, landowner downstream, I can tell you during some of those cold nights, Great Brook was almost running dry because of the volume of water they were sucking.
Wow.
Hmm.
And we're in a drought year.
Hmm.
Jackson ski touring is limited on the amount of water they can take right now. Because we have to, when Jackson takes it, they have to take a look at the flow in the sock with the Bartlett gauge. And when it drops below a certain point, we can only take a certain percentage. We can't go full.
Mhm.
And that's true of other alpine areas, which slowed some of them down from making snow this winter. I mean, because of the drought. But right now, groundwater level is low. With its cold temperature, your base flow is low, and that severely restricts what you can withdraw from a stream.
Makes
And
sense.
when it's really cold and he was running all his guns at once, I knew that he was taking far more than he probably knew he was. I mean, the eyeball said he was,
Yeah,
obviously there in concurrence.
yeah.
right, so I guess there's nothing we need to do in that. I think, I don't know if any of that could be avoided, but the DES tools that they have for permit searching, like,
But there's a number of elements in this. It's the amount of water.
yeah,
It's the fact that he diverted,
Mhm.
he didn't have a permit to get in the stream to divert. The list went on.
so,
Well, that goes back to the dredging too.
Yes, it does.
There's the dredging.
So in one of the other new business things, someone had contacted me about doing some research for something else, and just going through the file cabinet and finding I already knew, I mean, the file that has all of this information back from 2013 going forward, and every year that they would get these letters from the state saying, you're not allowed to have sandbags in the river, you're not allowed to move these rocks. We know you did it this year, you're allowed to continue doing it, don't do it next year. And there's 4 years of that.
And that would have been to the chair then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so between 2013 and 2016. And,
It was Levine and
right.
Fisher.
Right. So, and that's why it didn't jump out at me, is that the file is labeled Levine. So,
Right, yeah.
And of course, he's greatly enhanced the amount of snowmaking, which in return means he's drawing a lot more water.
Yeah, you can only guesstimate. You can't even guesstimate what that would be.
Is DES putting enforcement on the town, or are they gonna step in?
You're stepping in.
yeah, yeah.
But there's no cease and desist.
That's good, because
I think it was close to that. I just was skimming it.
the town is very hesitant right now because of the agreement that got pounded out with the lawyers of what they can do up there and what they can't. I don't think this has anything to do with
I don't know the
that
answer.
agreement, but I know they're a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
gun shy about stepping forward on anything at
yeah.
Black without a real backup.
Well, it's kind of a funny situation because everybody wants to see Black survive, but he's definitely pushing the envelope in a number of areas.
Well,
And he's got to some extent, to
Yeah.
make it survive.
my
but vice
other piece
versa.
is, there's no way that a good attorney doesn't know every bit of this information and just saying, get your wrist slapped, we're pushing, we're gonna succeed, this is,
Right.
that's what we typically see. I mean, it's everybody just do what you need to do and ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, just saying that in today's world of AI and like you can be an attorney, you could have all that information put right in front of you, what you can and can't do.
Well, there's also, if you remember, that there was a public hearing there as well on both the noise ordinance. And in the noise ordinance, the town has decided not to proceed in putting that forward. And then there was a special event one, which I think we had a discussion about, and some of us, at least when I looked at it, I said, this thing is highly problematic,
Mhm.
because it would have meant everything from Da Capo to whatever it was gonna be,
Yeah,
needing a 60-day, and it was only just Jackson Grammar School, so if the
yeah.
Bartlett Jackson Mid School wanted to come over here to hold a race at Jackson, you were gonna have to get a permit 60 days in advance. And the selectmen, if I recall correctly, had made the motion to go back and take a look at the special permit after the town meeting, but they realized they were gonna need to do a serious revamp, because what they had out there was definitely
And
problematic.
it looked, I went to the meeting, it just seemed pointed. I think a couple people said, basically, why don't you just say what you're trying to stop?
Right.
Stop beating
Yeah.
around the bush here. We're all sitting here going like, I think.
I don't know who drove, I mean,
It
I
was-
don't know who wrote that up, but
It was terrible.
it was terrible.
Right, so nothing's on the town for this. This is all DES enforcement. Everything is, so the town is just being
That's
notified.
good.
But it's also, the list of things that they're being asked to supply are things that we asked for back in June, which was
Yeah.
get a permit, notify DES.
Which we can substantiate. I mean, I think, DES is gonna ask for our input, and we'll be able to do that and put those documents forward and say, this isn't brand new for these people.
Do you have an electronic copy of that?
That just came in today, so no. Or
They can scan it.
I think Julie said it was scanned.
Yeah, it might be good just to send it to each of us so we can read it carefully, as opposed to trying to just digest it here. But if we could just get it sent out, then at least we'll know where it is.
It's one of the,
Because people will ask
it's
us.
one of the better written.
Oh, and there's targeted date, sorry, I'm like,
Yeah.
right on time here. There's like February 13th, that's like soon.
Yeah, it's one of the more
Pointed.
pointed, thorough responses I've ever seen. Usually you just like read all of them, you just like, this is useless.
Removed by hand, large rocks place. Yeah.
Well, you do have a water withdrawal permit that is required.
That they don't have.
Huh?
They don't have one.
They don't, do they have?
No, DES does.
The only registered water user is John Fischera's old company.
And they can get a letter, I think it says it in there, unless they can get a letter from the owner. There's something about a letter.
Yeah, when
There's a
you,
scanning.
when you change, yeah, when it
Ownership.
changes owners, you have to apply,
Do a letter.
basically.
And see, when John was withdrawing water, it was nowhere near the volume that's being withdrawn now.
That, the thing that's frustrating about it all is, at the end of John's tenure, whatever you call it, ownership, he was under the same point, the same finger. He was doing all those, not all of those, but 2/3 of those things wrong, so it's never been corrected. So it's, the whole thing has just been silly. No one ever wants to just clear it up once and.
But with
solve
John, the issue, I mean, I haven't seen it, so I won't say, but from what I understood from what's been said to this point, the issue with John was the stuff, the sandbags and the
Yeah.
diversion, was not the amount of water.
Correct, redirecting.
Now you have somebody new who's also taking more water,
Yeah.
and that changes.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that's, it's like you might be grandfathered up to that point, but if you try to go do something beyond what's grandfathered, then you gotta go in and ask for a
yeah.
permit.
But I think the part that's frustrating is like someone's being grandfathered to break the rule that they're being told they can't break. If he wasn't grandfathered, he just,
Well, it's
every
like a
year would
building-
break the same rule, and then they'd say, you can't do that. And
Well,
then the following
there's
year,
building lots in
you would do
town that are grandfathered before zoning, and you can't
Correct.
take that away.
correct,
And they can build on something that is subsized
Yeah.
relative to the current. But if
right,
they,
but each year, the state isn't gonna tell you that your
Yeah.
lot is, you know,
Well, that's the
not
town.
the code,
yeah,
or the state, the town isn't. But in this case, I think almost every year I've been on the board, John has received some sort of a complaint about the same thing that he says he can't do. And it seems like it's always gonna get cleared up, and we just kinda we were told just to be nice about it. It's like, hey, it's a local business, they're trying to make its way. It's like, I understand that, that's great. But at some point, you know, if that hadn't kept happening, we'd be on top of things, and we would know this can get cleared up. It seemed like a thing that was so simple to clear up, but for some reason, we can't clear it up.
because I think the only thing that John was probably doing is just throwing the sandbags in to divert the water.
Yeah, but regardless,
Yeah,
it's,
and they were disintegrating,
right.
and parts of the bags were, you know.
And they was
going-
changing.
They end up down my
But he
land.
was-
Yeah, right.
The flow is getting changed and it was being altered. There's always some little touch that wasn't okay, and people would complain, and those people would either get in trouble or told they can't go on the property. And so everybody was kind of like the standoff piece where we're not really supposed to say what we see. DES will take care of it. It just kind of gets to a point that you just kind of just step back and look what happens.
Mary
The
Alice.
bigger guy comes in and gets.
What happens if they
and does
draw
it.
down for snowmaking? When is it not a fire pond anymore?
That was the same question I had in the back of my head.
You know,
Because
when is it?
The top part is the fire pond. That would be the first part that would be drawn.
Right.
And then if you make the pond deeper, unless the fire department lowered their intake.
Intake, yeah.
And I don't, well, maybe they did, I don't know.
Which I think is probably a really good point for blowing up the idea that it's protected as a fire pond. If you're drawing too much water out of a pond, they can't
Right,
stay in the
and
water.
it can't be
and put out
used
fire.
for a fire pond, how do you get that
But I
dispensation
think.
to do anything
That's a
you
no-brainer
wanted?
question, I
But
really.
but I think the fact that it's a no-brainer question is why the whole conversation is so annoying, because this whole thing is that simple, yet it's still going on
Right.
15 years
It's
later.
because the pond keeps refilling, apparently. It's never drawn down to the, to the.
Or there's
pond.
not a fire when you
Well,
need
what,
to take the water
what
out.
the state is pushing ski areas to do, which is appropriate, is to build storage ponds so that you can draw, because your lowest flows are typically in the months of January and February, because your water's locked up and your ground is frozen. So that's when your lowest flow is. And if you keep sucking out your fish, everything else is gonna get really hammered rather quick, because there's no residual pools for them to go to. And if they do, an otter or a martin or whatever,
Right.
Mink is gonna come along and pretty much pick off everybody that's stuck there. So, the big push, and I mean, Attitash, for example, has a snowmaking pond, even though that is directly connected because
Yeah.
it's so close and it's a sand aquifer there, but, and that's part of the problem I think Wildcat has had, because they're at the top of the headwater, so they don't have a lot of water
Right,
coming
they have
in.
their own pond.
But I can tell you, when we went in, because I wrote up the permit request for Jackson's ski touring's snowmaking, and we had to follow the rules, and we have to basically constantly monitor what the flow is at Bartlett, and when it gets below a certain level, then we can only take less and less, and if it gets down below a certain level, we can't take anything.
So where is it measured at Bartlett?
Right at the bridge, there's a USGS gauge, you can go online and get the flows instantaneously. And then there's another gauge, but that's not the relevant one, which is down in Conway, down near where the, down in the lower part of Conway before it crosses. But there is a USGS gauge, and you can get the data anytime you want. But ski touring has to follow that, and we have to report how much water we're using each day and what the flow was in Bartlett.
But they don't have to do that because they're grandfathered?
No, that's the typical way. I mean, what you do is you take a look at the watershed size, and then basically you prorate from where that gauge is, because that's approximate gauge that is pretty much gonna be identical to what you would see here. And when ski touring takes it, if they take it from like below the covered bridge for the skiers cross, there's less that you can take if they take it down in the confluence below where the Wildcat and the Ellis come together, then you can take more water because now you have two watersheds coming in. But you'll also, when you put in, have to also ask who else is taking water, because it's not an individual, it is the cumulative intake.
So it'd be you, and it'd be Black Mountain.
That is correct.
And who else are you drawing from that point?
Donna Jackson, the water precinct.
That's true, but don't they take out of the Ellis, yeah. Okay.
Well, they have a thing that goes down below the Ellis River, so it's not a surface withdrawal, but for all practical purposes,
It's still water.
it's still the same thing.
Limited.
The only difference with the town, for example, it's going into all the septic systems here, so the distance of that impact is pretty small, because that water is basically going into a condo and going down through the septic tank, going back into the groundwater and bleeding out. So, whereas snowmaking is a little different, because you take it when it's low flow. When it's melting, you're at flood stage usually, because it's gonna come off the mountain in the spring. So people, on an annual basis, it's a net zero. Relative to the ecology of the stream and everything, it's not a net zero by any means. And I mean, I chaired the States Rivers Committee for many years and worked on the in-stream flow rules, so I pretty much know what they look like. That's why this doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, I think just we'll keep monitoring. I mean, I think that's Penny did a lot of documenting of what she has done. I documented a lot of the in-stream work that they were doing, so I think we have resources if they're requested.
Yeah.
So.
That was early, the stuff in Penny.
She has been on top of it ever since then. So whenever there was some high flow events that caused the pond to get very silty, and so
I would imagine as well that and this is not to, neither here nor there, not to excuse anything, but I imagine when there is a change in ownership, which I think is supposed to happen after the snow season, the Black will just naturally start taking less water out, because I can't imagine the co-op, whoever takes control, is going to be like blowing snow on a south-facing slope in May, which is what's been going on currently. Like, they're pulling out a lot, which can't be financially sustainable. And I would imagine when that change happens.
He will still own the majority of the ownership.
Oh, with the co-op, okay.
I've seen the business.
Okay, I have not, so maybe what I'm saying isn't that, I would think if it was a co-op and down under different ownership, they wouldn't be like laying down that much in mid-May, but, or whatever it was, late April.
And he has to get through the SEC before he can sell those shares, et cetera. So whether that'll happen then or not is another question.
Okay. I will get you guys copies of that, so. I didn't have anything for the Dundee Community Forest, but there was a brief meeting last week to discuss new forest management plans. I don't know if anyone needs an update on that, or it seems to still be in process, so.
Yeah, I mean, I attended the meeting. I think there was a little bit of people just getting educated as to the forest management plan, and you know, I mean, I read through the plans and they looked fairly respectable at the same time. Some people wanted more detail, but then it's a question of how much you paid the consultant to be able to do what the consultant did, some of those things. And so then from that meeting, Upper Saco takes the input that they got from the community group and then goes back, because they have one time to go back and ask for changes in the plan. So they've taken that input, gone back for changes in the plan itself.
I was surprised that, what was it? The one section had larger patch cuts than I would have thought. That was the only thing that surprised me. There was like one section that talked about up to 3 acres for patch cuts, which seemed big.
Depends what you're managing for.
Right.
Yeah, so I think whatever this is getting into my non-technical ability to it, like the things that stood out to me, which were more style issues than anything else.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of people got confused, because because the easement is held by the state, and the state has a format, and there are 3 different parcels. So they had to have a different plan for each of the 3 parcels. So there's a lot of redundancy between the 3 different plans, but because that was the first question I asked, as I said, is this to meet the state's requirement? And the answer was yes. So that's the reasons why you see all of that redundancy.
Yeah, so I think some of the questions that came up were answered, and it does need some proof. There were a couple of things that reading the north and south were mixed up, so
Yeah.
it was just more typographical issues rather than substantive issues on that. So
What's the, is there a timeline for when they feel they'll have
Well,
peppered this?
their forest management plan is no different than we hired Nolan back to do on Prospect. And then we haven't done anything relative to doing forestry up there, but it gave us a blueprint. But there is always a challenge, and I saw the same thing with Upper Saco Valley when they went, is you got 20 people with a different idea about how it should be managed. Well, the poor consultant's sitting out there with 20 people telling them 20 different things. How do you develop a management plan under that scenario? In the end, Upper Saco has to, in the end, make a decision, because they are the landowner as to what they're going to do or not do.
And they have an understanding of the mandate that this all got done
Yes.
under.
Well, that's what I thought there was a timeline that was like a year ago that some of the stuff had to be ironed out and we were supposed to be at to the next phase. And my question for timeline.
I think what the
for
timeline was
completion.
is that they had to develop a forest management plan. Now,
Like
like-
the parking lot and the sign and.
well,
Like all
that's
that.
just all to show that you have a coordinated approach as to what you might do. But then, it's a no-brainer though, that Upper Saco is not a money-rich organization. You can tell them that they gotta do $2 million worth of invasive controls and parking lots, but, they don't have $2 million to do it, so you have to be careful about what you're recommending versus
Well, I think
what the
part,
resource base is for the organization that holds it.
well, I think part of it was in the meetings I went to, is almost be careful what you say you can do so you receive these benefits, because if you can't do them,
I think the
you
benefits,
could
because
lose the
this,
benefits.
yeah, the benefits in part because of where the funding sources came through. Basic, you know, some of them said that forestry has to be allowed. That's different than to say that forestry has to happen.
Mhm. Yeah.
You're seeing this on the Connecticut Lakes land and so on and so forth. And then there's a degree of how much forestry.
But I guess in terms of timeline, let's just say that Pine Hill, or like another area, that's in theory completed, or phase, whatever, is completed. That's more, in a sense, I mean, like, is there a window of time that we're like, oh, people will be enjoying Dundee Community Forest in X?
There are forestry projected dates, starting 29.
Really?
Well, the plan is good for certain, just no different than our Nolan plan.
Mhm.
But if you don't do anything for 15 years, the forest has changed in that 15 years. So what you might do 15 years from now, if that's the first time. Nolan's plan, when you looked at it, was sort of like, if you want to do something starting the date that you got it, this is what I'd recommend you do.
Mhm.
It's not that we have to do that. But
Right.
if you're managing for longer term, larger trees, it's different than if you're managing for grouse and deer, because then you'll want to cut frequently and have a lot of poplar and stuff come in, because that's what they want. So if your plan is, I want grouse and deer, you manage one way. If you want martins, et cetera, you manage a different way, and that's,
Mhm. Yeah.
and the forester has to be told which of those you want. He can't, he'll just tell you the various options if you want to get to one of those plans.
Right, but I mean, the whole track isn't just for forestry, there's other elements, like recreational elements, like is there a timeline when they think they'll have any of that
Not
figured out, or?
Not for that. This is
Well-
just focusing on the invasives
Mhm.
and the forestry
Forestry.
plan.
Okay,
And the problem with invasives is, and if you take a look at where the invasives are on that map, is they like disturbance. So the minute you get in and start doing forestry, you're opening it up for invasives, whether you like it or not.
Which I think was Ian's
Yeah,
main point. Like, I guess, yeah. So nothing has been decided.
I just get asked occasionally, because I have people that are interested in properties that are surrounding it, and wondering like, what's gonna happen here?
I mean, so I guess,
And the plans are different for the three different parcels.
Yeah,
and the areas of interest, or the special management areas, which are sort of the most sensitive areas, are sort of carved out on those, so those are more protected than, like, say,
yeah,
the double-edged
right,
recreational aspect.
Right.
and I don't think any of the recreational user groups are really like gunning, like pushing
Yeah.
hard, like we
No.
want this to happen. So I personally wouldn't see any kind of new recreational thing other than that trail anytime soon.
Mhm.
And it's kind of ironic, because some of them don't want to see a well-developed trail on the Tin Mountain Tract, and yet you're working to save the ham, and you want people to come see the ham. If you want to have people come see the ham, have a highly used trail right at the same trailhead, because that'll, just like the Bricket House over in Evans Notch, et cetera,
Yeah.
is, you know, if you spend all this time and money trying to save it so that people can see it, you'll secondhand get a lot of people to see it, because there's a good trail there.
Yeah, I
And
totally agree.
If you don't build a good trail to attract people, then you'll probably see very few people coming to
Yeah,
see the ham
yeah.
house.
You'll drive
That's why
past,
they put the parking lot in.
Yeah,
you know.
it's like, sometimes I don't understand what people are saying, man. I don't want to
Well,
fancy.
because
Yeah.
you get,
Yeah.
from 20 different, like you were saying, 20
yeah,
different
that's
people.
kind of why I asked the question, because I felt the same, kind of like,
But the forest management plan wasn't really, my understanding was not really hired to do the recreation plan.
Correct. Yeah, so, And there may be a meeting sooner rather than later on that, so.
Well, they've sent, the comments came to Upper Saco. Upper Saco will go back and winnow down so that it's a coherent message that they're giving to the consultant. Consultant will take the draft and come up with a final. That's their contract with that consultant. So the final is not out. This was everybody had a chance to look at the first draft and comment.
All right.
Natural Resource Index. I think
Inventory is actually the word, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
I just emailed everyone a link to Eaton's
I just opened
online.
it.
And a lot of that includes that similar information from the Loan
Yeah.
Trust. So, and you had spoken with Larry.
Yeah, I mean, I went back and I took a look, and Upper Saco Valley had done some serious inventories as they were trying to determine where. So that data is available. The
That's
fit-
what I gave you, right?
Yeah. The fishing games, inventory stuff, all of that stuff is all online in GIS at Granite. There's a bunch of data that's out there. We're not starting from scratch. And I went and took a look at the New Hampshire Conservation Commission's recommended format for natural resource inventories, et cetera. The basic inventory data is out there. The most of it is. And I did talk with Larry Garland, because I do know that he does have the GIS, and I asked him whether he might be interested in helping, and he said he would be interested. Until you sit down and say, this is what it is, and this is what we like. And then there's kind of two levels to that. One is just compiling and being able to describe what you have out there. It's a different ball game if you want to start doing overlays and ranking and all that sort of stuff, and I'm not sure that's where we need to go so much as to say, these are the great wildlife corridors, and this, here's where your aquifers are and that sort of stuff. So that we have that information that goes into the master plan. But I think we don't need to go, if you hired a consultant to go do this, you're talking $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 probably. I don't think we need to go there. I think a lot of the data exists.
Yeah.
Random question. Is that a building lot just below Gills Bridge with the two stone pillars?
I have no idea. Everybody has the same question. I know what you're talking about.
Where is that?
I thought that property was,
Just below Moody Farm, where
I
I
thought
thought that was like
Ann
Ann Peterson's.
Peterson.
Me too.
Or the last time I looked into it.
Correct. Well, I think it was
Yeah.
one of the lots that we were like, what is that thing?
There's a weird one.
And it was almost like, is it SNET, like the power, the phone company, somebody has them.
Yeah.
And it was Ann. But then I thought, wait, maybe this is part of the Eagle Mountain House, like somehow that was attached to the little piece with that swap with Jackson, and maybe they ended up with it. But I've asked a few people and no one.
Well, it's easy enough to go to the tax records
Yeah.
and see who owns the parcel.
Yeah. Like, and the stonework looked so familiar that I was like, oh, I know this. We'll know what it is, but I don't know the
I
answer.
don't know how you can build something here that is in the floodplain.
Big time. Grandfather.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
if you know where Jackson's parking lot is for
Yeah.
Woodchuck Fields, that
Wynn's Cabin, yeah.
little cabin there is obviously grandfathered. And if you cross where Moody Farm hits and you look at the cabin that's just upstream, I believe that was a grandfathered
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. That's Ted Brown's old
yeah.
place there. Yeah.
And Tyrol has a bunch of grandfather lots that would
Yeah.
not be developable under the current zoning.
Well, I think my old house lot's non-conforming on
Yeah.
three or four sides.
Which
Yeah.
one isn't conforming? Yours?
Hmm.
Whose lot is not conforming?
Oh, many. There's many non-conforming lots in town, but there's roads that have, the majority of the houses are not conforming, they're too close to the road, or too close to a brook, but my house, yeah. I'll look it up and see what it is.
Well, the last thing that I have is I
Go out here and look in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
had a, I can't remember if it was a wetlands person or an attorney looking for information on possible wetlands or other violations around Dana Place properties and the Wildcat townhouses. I went back as far as I could in the file cabinet. Could not find anything on those properties and couldn't really find anything online, but I just wanted to see if anyone had any recollection.
I think the person you might wanna talk to about that would be, he's the chairman of the, let me think about this. He's right up there, isn't it Mr. and Mrs. Levy? Am I getting it wrong? She was on the conservation commission right before I was.
Martha Benish.
Martha Benish, right, yeah. They, for some reason, when I first got on the board, I feel like there were some hot topics over there in the Dana Place for a bunch of different, that condo complex, and she might be the person worth talking to, because she took good notes and had a pretty good file.
Okay.
Well, there was a proposal, you got, in my, because I think when it changed ownership, there was talk about trying to develop some
developing
more
it.
stuff
Yeah,
in the field there.
yeah.
And then there was a question of whether it was grandfathered and whether the exemption time had run away, but I just remember there's some issues there, but I don't remember what the
Yeah.
details were.
I feel like there's been a variety of issues up there that's kept things from, like, happening on all the different builds up there, and I don't know.
And there's different ownerships.
Yeah, it's not all just, there's the townhouses, there's a Dana Place. But I think Martha might be a good person.
Well, what's the question?
Well,
He was just looking for possible wetlands violations around,
who's he?
There's no new construction up there right now.
just, someone doing an environmental site assessment of Dana Place, the single-family house on Wildcat Townhouse Road, and then the 10 residential units on Glen Drive.
Can you send me that? Can you email that to us?
Kind of thing they might do before something gets sold.
Yeah, that's what I was just gathering.
Yeah.
So who's sending the, is that a request to our committee?
Yeah, he was just, I think he's spoken to Kevin and he's just doing due diligence, so, yeah, I'll forward that.
And this is for somebody who's trying to,
His specific request was, do we have any records of wetlands violations or other environmental incidences at these properties?
and that would be with the state,
Yeah, wouldn't it be DES?
yes.
And their access, like, trying to find things in their system is so Byzantine. Like, I have found things and tried to go back and find them and cannot find them. So I get that asking someone in the town might just know the information, so.
Because if they're looking for a sale or something, they're probably trying to get clearance.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Although, on the other side, from Dana Place, the town owns the building rights to the additional land over by the condominiums. They don't own the land. They don't
Yeah, I still don't
It's
understand.
really, you know,
How did that come about again?
tax arrears. I mean,
And you only have so much time to expand the condominium, and that's way fast.
they don't, at one time, they were gonna take the condominiums, or some units of them. But that was quickly paid off. But what
Those
wasn't,
delinquent taxes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they took the development rights.
but the development rights, the building rights of the additional land up there is owned by the town.
Huh.
But it's one of those things, you know, we were thinking of affordable housing,
Hmm.
but we don't own the land, we own the building rights. So it's still, I think, for lawyers to figure out what exactly could happen, or how it could happen. Somebody has to come up with the idea, well, this is what we'd like to do, can it happen?
And then the town gets the building rights, meaning,
Well, maybe they would then get some money
They sell it.
for whoever wanted to develop that,
mm,
and say, no, we own the building rights. We will give them to you
mm,
for
yeah,
whatever, maybe whatever the back taxes were,
mm,
plus interest, plus my time.
yeah, it's interesting.
I'm thinking about it.
Well, I knew that I knew that the town had the interest in there, but
Yeah, that's why I thought maybe this was,
It sounds like that they're just trying to clear up probably deeds.
that is all I have for today. Does anyone else have anything?
The only other thing I would add is at the selectmen meeting, they, for the first review of the next year's budget, they went through department by department, and I was there representing you for the, there was no question about request for 1,500, so I didn't, the second hearing is just coming up, I think, on the draft budget. The selectmen were happy with the 1,500, so unless somebody comes at the second hearing and raises an issue, it's not an issue. I can't make the second meeting, but
I think I'm fine, seeing as how we don't spend all of it, so, but,
I did tell them that between doing a natural resource inventory and a bunch of other things.
We could.
We
could.
We could be asking for more.
And, you know, once we develop a plan for Jackson Falls, it's not gonna be free.
right. Right. Oh, I'll think about that. I also have been trying to find it's not even there. I'll chase that down. I've been researching Orchard speakers, so.
I've missed a bunch of meetings, so this is probably something you already talked about, but I had heard, have y'all talked about the big white farmhouse on Carter Road? And those hundreds
the Dickersons?
of acres of being sold and most likely going into an easement? Yes, no,
I haven't heard that.
yeah.
That's what I've heard.
That's what I've heard. I don't know if it's, I don't want, I'm not gonna say
There's a
anyone's
sign
name or
up that
anything, but.
says
Please.
Private sale or-
Who was it?
Yeah.
Dr.
Homer.
Dickerson.
Dickerson.
But that, yeah, the big white farmhouse, I
Yeah.
think it's 150 acres or so.
They
It's
had it
those-
all surveyed out, you can see the.
it's the big blueberry fields, and then extends to the other side of the road by the
Yeah.
fire pond.
Mhm.
And I've heard that the buyer is gonna put that into an easement,
Yes.
so that'll be a big
That's excellent.
chunk of land, which is great. And it's good access to the river, it's great blueberry picking, it's,
It's great, everything.
yeah, it's,
Good for
it's a,
fishermen.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good spot, so.
It's one of our best vistas, I think.
Yeah, like as you're driving down Carter Notch Road and you
It's the
Carter,
classic.
yeah, you had.
Is the buyer who I think it is?
Probably. Yeah.
All right.
I make a motion that we go have supper.
Is there a second?
Second.
I need to take my wife anyways. So
All in favor?
Hey,
Thank you, everyone. Our next meeting is March 2nd.
I'll say the name as soon as we turn the camera off.
What's that?
I'll say the name as soon as we turn the camera off.
Just up the road, right?
Yes.